After getting drunk, I found myself back at the engagement scene 3 years ago. My fiancé's first love came to make trouble with a pregnant belly. Andrew. I'm pregnant. Under the shocked gazes of everyone, I put their hands together. Congratulations on becoming a father. You two are locked in for life. Please don't bother me anymore. Besides, men are not as important as family. The engagement banquet was suspended due to the commotion caused by Andrew, my fiancé's first love. She leaned softly into Andrew's arms. Ignoring the eyes of the crowd, Andrew was all tensed up and stiffly held her in his arms. The guests pointed at the two of them, and Andrew's parents kept apologizing to my parents. My brother Leo stepped forward to comfort me. Fiona. The Fiona family will always be behind you. And he hugged me and led me away from the engagement scene. On the way, I heard people whispering. I said that the guy from the Andrew family got someone pregnant and tricked the Fiona family into marriage. In fact, Andrew is innocent. The child in Chloe's belly has nothing to do with him. She didn't care about Andrew before. She, who was deeply in love, was actually staying in her boyfriend's hometown to nurture the fetus at that time. The moment she came to disrupt the engagement banquet, I was sure that she had also been reborn. An ungrateful person. The first thing she did after being reborn was to ruin the event. In my previous life, after the period of the love filter passed, Chloe couldn't stand the domestic violence and came to seek refuge with Andrew along with her child. Andrew was busy at the company, and it was me who opened the door for them. I felt pity when I saw how miserable she and her daughter looked at that time. With my consent, Andrew arranged for Chloe and her daughter to live in a small apartment. At that time, with the help of the Fiona family and me, Andrew quickly became a new upstart in the business world. Chloe was fed up with the core life and set her sights on Andrew. She tried her best to seduce Andrew, but he didn't take the bait. Instead, he would hold me and say that he only regarded Chloe as his sister, giving me a false sense of security. Until Chloe's husband found her and killed her and the child, Andrew went crazy. He questioned me why I had told Chloe's husband her address. He blamed me for Chloe's death. Heaven and earth is my witness. I didn't know Chloe's scumbag husband at all. I even disdained to do those things behind the scenes. Not convinced, I had someone find out the truth. It was Chloe who, seeing that there was no hope with Andrew, secretly contacted her husband on her own. Unexpectedly, her husband thought she was being kept by someone and asked her for money. They had a dispute, and he accidentally killed her. I told Andrew the results I found out. But he didn't believe me. He even forcefully buried Chloe's ashes in the Andrew family's cemetery. After Chloe died, Andrew had countless mistresses, and each of them resembled her. Only then did I know how deeply he loved Chloe. When Chloe was alive, he couldn't forgive her for her betrayal. After she died, he forgot all the bad things and only remembered that she was the first love that couldn't be erased in his heart. My mother-in-law advised me to be magnanimous and said there was no need to compete with a dead person. At that time, my brother, who was in the late stage of being love-struck, was busy searching for his runaway wife all over the world and had no time to care about me. My parents were so angry with my brother that they fell ill and were lying in the hospital, unable to stand up for me. The two families had a business marriage, and getting a divorce would do me more harm than good. Feeling depressed, I asked my friends to go out for a drink to relax. Unexpectedly, after a hangover, I was accidentally reborn at the engagement scene. This time around, what is Andrew? What is Chloe? They are just an important passers-by in my life. Strengthening myself and protecting my family are what I should do. As for my brother's love-struck mentality, I have to find a way to cut it off from the source. I can't let him sell the company because of his love-struck state. I'm relying on the dividend from the company shares. The engagement banquet ended unhappily, and Andrew's parents came to my house with generous gifts to apologize. Andrew's parents didn't explain that day. They were giving their opinions after the event today. My parents didn't give them any face. As the saying goes, you don't hit someone who comes with a smiling face. So I had to step forward and talk to them. Uncle, having fulfilled my auntie. As the saying goes, it's better to tear down 10 temples than to ruin one marriage. It's a good thing that they have a good relationship. I smiled and politely declined their idea of continuing the marriage alliance. People who have been in the business world for a long time know exactly what I mean. After a while, Andrew's parents left with a forced smile on their faces. Before leaving, they asked me to think about it again, leaving enough face for each other. The matter between Andrew and Chloe spread in our circle. The circle is just so big. Those who knew about the marriage alliance between the two families all indirectly asked me how I felt. Every time they asked me, I would pretend to be deep with a 45-degree angle. How do I feel? I feel great. I just want to see if Andrew can quickly become a new upstart in the business world without the help of the Fiona family and me. And how much help can Chloe, the outcast of the Chloe family, provide for Andrew? Bored at home, I pestered my parents to let me intern at the company. Perhaps because of the engagement incident, my father felt a bit guilty and surprisingly agreed to let me work at the company. You know, in my previous life, no matter how much I begged, he never agreed. According to him, sons are responsible for earning money to support the family, and daughters are responsible for being beautiful. The next day, as the president's special assistant, it was my first day at work. I could finally shine brightly in public. The sudden appearance of a beautiful special assistant beside the president inevitably led everyone to start speculating. I took my mother's surname, Leo. Only a few people in the company know my true identity. Fortunately, my goal is to make some people misunderstand. If there is no misunderstanding, how can I proceed to the next step? When a cup of coffee was thrown at me, I casually picked up the white suit jacket that my brother had taken off and placed beside me to block it. Sorry. I didn't mean to. The one who apologized to me was Yvonne, the secretary assistant and my sister-in-law in my previous life. There were tears in her beautiful eyes, and they would pour out with a blink. What era is this? She's still using this trick on me? I coughed lightly and showed her the stained part of the jacket. It doesn't matter. This is the first time President Leo has worn this suit, and it's worth 23. Dear Yuan, do you want to transfer the money or should I sue you? Yvonne obviously didn't understand what I meant and had a look of confusion on her face. I sighed and said, just buy it at a discounted price. I'll waive the change. It's 20 yuan. What a pity for this suit. It's been ruined like this. TSK. This high-end custom-made suit jacket was completely ruined. After realizing what I said, a trace of crack appeared on Yvonne's pitiful face. And she argued, how is that possible? If you hadn't used President Leo's clothes to block it, I wouldn't have spilled it on you. I nodded in agreement. You're right. I shouldn't have tried to save you money. My professional suit is worth 33 yuan, which is 10 yuan more expensive than the suit jacket. She became a bit hysterical and asked me a soul-stirring question. You're just an intern. Where did you get so much money? As soon as it comes to money, she can't pretend to be innocent anymore? I retorted confidently. Who told you that interns can't be from wealthy families? Pay up. Under my persistent demands, she reluctantly transferred 20 yuan to me. The moment I got the money, I felt refreshed. Compared to what she did to the Fiona family in my previous life, this is really nothing. When my brother saw his badly stained white suit after the meeting, his face turned dark. Is anyone qualified to be an assistant? I took the initiative and glared at my brother. He was confused by my question. What happened? I pointed to a video on his computer, which was the part where the surveillance camera captured Yvonne throwing coffee at me. Look. Did she trip for no reason? Is there a ghost in your office tripping her or was it on purpose? Fortunately, I blocked it with your suit. This suit was modified by Mom. If it was ruined, how sad Mom would be. As I spoke, I started crying. Isn't it just acting like an innocent girl? I've learned a lot about how to act like an innocent girl. My brother couldn't stand my crying when he wasn't love-struck. He quickly comforted me. She's Assistant Dawn's assistant. Why did she come to my office? Hey. Don't cry. I didn't say anything. I took the tissue and wiped away the tears that were about to flow down. I was frightened and today you do my work. My brother nodded helplessly. He took over all my work, and I sat on the sofa playing games, waiting for him to finish work so we could go home together. Looking at him working seriously, I sighed. In fact, my brother is quite capable when he's not love-struck. Who in the industry doesn't know that the Fiona family should have a successor? But unfortunately, due to being love-struck, he was ruined by a woman. Fortunately, having fulfilledly, I was reborn. In this life, I will get rid of his love-struck mentality. I'm holding a fire hydrant. Can the little spark of his love-struck mentality withstand the spray? The next morning, I took the breakfast box prepared by Aunt Will, the nanny, and took my brother's car to work. There was a small cartoon sticker on the passenger seat of his car, and I directly tore it off. What's this? Leo, Leo. Since when have you been so childish? At the traffic light, my brother took a quick look and said in confusion, I guess Yvonne stuck it on when she rode in my car last time. Damn it. She even sat in the passenger seat. Why did you let her sit in the passenger seat? Don't you know that on the internet it said that the passenger seat is the exclusive seat for girlfriends? My brother thought for a long time before saying, I guess when Assistant Dawn drove this car last time, she sat in the passenger seat. This scheming woman, Yvonne, has quite a few tricks up her sleeve. It seems that I have to study some targeted knowledge to deal with her. As soon as I opened the office door, I smelled a sweet fragrance. President Leo. It was Yvonne who spoke. When she saw that it was me who opened the door, she was a bit flustered. Assistant Yvonne. What are you doing in my office? Because of the suit incident, my brother was a bit annoyed with her and said impatiently, it was all my fault yesterday. Today I made some porridge myself to apologize. Yvonne gave my brother a flirtatious look in front of me. She really doesn't take me seriously. I stood between the two of them to prevent their eyes from meeting. According to my observation, my brother has no interest in her at the moment. Thank you for your hard work, Assistant Yvonne. If your work efficiency can be better than flattering your superiors, I will suggest to President Leo that you be promoted. I'm good at being sarcastic. When she was about to shed that tear, I added, Assistant Yvonne, if you spill the porridge, the clothes won't be able to be washed clean either. She covered her eyes with her sleeve and ran away sobbing. With such low skills, she still tries to act like an innocent girl. TSK as a special assistant. I considerately opened the thermal box in my hand and placed it in front of my brother. The delicate and nutritious breakfast couldn't be replaced by a bowl of white sugar porridge. As for Yvonne's white sugar porridge, I directly dumped it into the trash can. Eating too much sugar can easily lead to diabetes and is not good for health. After work, I warily got into my brother's car. It's free, the didn't fulfill wide session, so why not take it? My brother was willingly ordered around by me, which gave me a long-lost sense of familiarity. Before being possessed by Love Brain, my brother was a well-known sister con in our circle and was very good to me. However, after being possessed by Love Brain, he did whatever Yvonne said. He even wouldn't let me enter the house, and said that I was like water that had been spilled once I got married. If our parents hadn't stopped us, we would have surely had a fight. Just as I was thinking about it, the phone rang. Without looking at who was calling, I directly answered it on speakerphone. Fiona, have you also come back? Andrew's voice came from the other end of the phone. Oh, what he said. It seems that being reborn even comes with a buy one get to free deal. What on earth are you talking about? I didn't hesitate to shatter his illusion. Why didn't our engagement succeed? Why didn't the Fiona family invest in the Andrew family? Did you play some tricks in the middle of it? This scheming man was still trying to pin the blame on me. Don't you have a clue in your mind about why it didn't succeed? Can the Fiona family be bullied by your Andrew family? It's like sticking chicken feathers on a bat. And you still have the nerve to ask for investment? The city wall would submit if it saw your face. Your face is even thicker than a copper wall and an iron barrier. These days, everything is getting more expensive, but you're getting cheaper and cheaper. On the day of the engagement, someone came to look for the father with the big belly. If I continued with you, there would be one more cuckold in the world. For the sake of both families, the engagement was cancelled, and I endured this humiliation. How dare you still ask me about it? What's wrong with you? Do you have an extra mouth or are you short of an eye? You're blind. Heartless. And have a foul mouth. I scolded him energetically, making Andrew doubt his life. Fortunately, having fulfilled my obsession, I pretended to be a virtuous wife and good mother for a long time in my previous life, making Andrew think that I was very weak. My brother suddenly applied the brakes, scaring me into shutting up. He was so absorbed in listening to me scolding that he almost rear-ended the car in front. I didn't listen to what Andrew was saying on the other end of the phone anymore. I quickly hung up the phone and glared at my brother. Doctor properly. If you want to act like an idiot, it won't be as easy as just me scolding you. He gripped the steering wheel tightly and nodded repeatedly. After being scolded, Andrew didn't come to find me. But it didn't stop me from hearing the gossip about him. Despite the obstruction of the Andrew family couple, he took Chloe to live in a small apartment. Everyone in the circle said that he was happily playing the role of a father, and he seemed to enjoy it. After all, tricks like a dead first love coming back to life are the most precious to people. I can understand Andrew. Really. If I wasn't afraid of revealing the secret of being reborn, I would have even clapped to congratulate the two of them. Fortunately, having fulfilled my desire, she interrupted the engagement banquet. My brother was full of emotions when he heard about this. The more I looked at him, the more I felt that my brother without love brain was great. When I thought of the things he did after having love brain, I couldn't wait to give him a good beating. At the thought of giving him a beating, considering my small stature, I reckoned I needed some practice. So I said to my brother, "Brother, let's sign up for a taekwondo class. Let's go and learn it together after work." "Are you serious? You're already very fierce. If you learn taekwondo, will your future husband still be able to live?" My brother smiled slyly. I was so angry that I threw my bag at him. "If you can't speak properly, just shut up. No one will take you for a mute. It's not that I'm fierce. I clearly have personality." Unable to resist my unreasonable demands, he was dragged by me to learn taekwondo. Just when we arrived at the taekwondo venue and were about to sign up and pay, we happened to meet Yvonne. "President Leo. Miss Liu. What a coincidence." "It really is a coincidence. You're like a dung beetle showing up everywhere." "Miss Fang. Are you here to practice taekwondo?" Out of politeness, I replied to her first. It's better to send her away as soon as possible. My brother is a coach here." Yvonne blushed and said after stealing several glances at my brother. "As far as I know, Yvonne doesn't have a brother who is a coach here. That so-called brother should be the most affectionate spare tire around her." It was this person who took Yvonne away in my previous life. Before leaving, Yvonne stole the company's confidential information. For this, my parents had a big quarrel with my brother. My brother said it didn't matter if the whole company was given to Yvonne as long as she was by his side. My parents were so angry that they fell ill. After the shareholders knew about it, they called the police. And the police searched all over the country. Until I came back, Yvonne and the others hadn't been found. It's an unlucky start. We met our enemy at the first taekwondo hall. What bad luck. I took a look at Yvonne and decided to let my brother have less contact with her. It's disgusting. Forget it. Let's go. After saying this, I dragged my brother away. After being dragged out of the store, my brother shrugged helplessly and asked, "Didn't you say you wanted to learn? Why don't you want to learn anymore?" I was speechless. I couldn't possibly tell him that I was avoiding risks. Right? "I think there are too many people in the venue. Let's just hire a coach to teach us at home. We've earned so much money. It would be a pity not to spend it," my brother said helplessly. "Miss, hopelessly. I'll do as you say." With my brother's instruction, all the subsidiaries of the Fiona family group refused to cooperate with the Andrew family. Some company presidents who had a good relationship with my brother also joined in the boycott of the Andrew family. In the business world, it's like a battlefield. And only the strong led. The Andrew family was suppressed so much that they couldn't move forward. Andrew's father didn't want to be so angry that he fell ill. So he simply went abroad for a trip to relax with Andrew's mother, and left the company in Andrew's charge for management. He was as good at scheming as ever. Because of the incident at the engagement banquet, all the young ladies in the circle looked down on Andrew. He set his target on a young lady from a wealthy family who had just returned from abroad. Miss Song didn't give him any face at all. It's so funny. My best friend sent a video in the group, which was about Andrew picking someone up in the rain but being kicked to the ground. The one who kicked him was the female bodyguard, beside Miss Song. He didn't even get close to Miss Song. Andrew, this dog, still dared to covet the Song family. He's really overestimating himself. My best friend Cindy kept sending messages in the group, in our circle. The Song family has the longest history. Where did he get the courage? Even my brother doesn't dare to covet Miss Song. This Andrew had some brains. But he was reborn without bringing all of them. In my previous life, with the paving of the Fiona family, Andrew indeed had the qualification to covet the young lady of the Song family 3 years later. But now, Andrew is nothing. And he still dares to covet the Song family? Moreover, in my previous life, Miss Song from the Song family liked my brother. I don't know if the two of them have any fate in this life. Forget it. With my brother's love brain, he'd better not bother Miss Song from the Song family. To my surprise, after hitting a wall with the Song family, Andrew came to find me again. Fiona, I heard that you're now working in the company of the Fiona family? Andrew stopped my brother and me, with a creepy smile all over his face. You've also come back, right? Otherwise, why would you cut off my source of income? Andrew said this as he got close to me. Andrew, have you forgotten about the engagement banquet? My meaning was very clear. The Fiona family targeted you because of the engagement. You can't fool me. I know you. Andrew giggled, and his laughter made people feel creepy. Regarding the matter of the engagement banquet, the Fiona family would never let it go easily. My brother interrupted his words and unleashed his full aura. Then he punched Andrew when Andrew was about to get close to me again. The private lessons he took came in handy. In just a few moves, my brother pinned Andrew to the ground and beat him. Fiona also has shares in the company of the Fiona family. As a shareholder, what's wrong with her going to work? He said while beating. I've endured you for a long time. If it weren't for the relationship between the two families, I would have already beaten you to vent my anger. You still don't know what's good for you, and keep coming closer. Today, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of my sister. My brother was so focused on beating Andrew that he didn't notice Andrew taking out a folding knife from his pants pocket. Before I could stop it, the knife in Andrew's hand was kicked away by a flying side kick. My brother glanced behind him and continued to beat Andrew. You still want to hurt me with a knife? You don't have the guts. The one who kicked him was a capable woman. And standing beside her was Miss Song, wearing a long dress. I quickly stepped forward and grabbed my brother. We shouldn't fight outside. Otherwise, if it spreads, people will think you have a violent tendency. My brother then let go and, by the way, untied his tie and tied Andrew's hands tightly. This tie cost 3,000 yuan. You are lucky. You bastard. He couldn't help but nag while tying Andrew up. Theft. It's so interesting. Miss Song quickly covered her mouth with her hand, and her bright and lively eyes stared straight at my brother. Could this person also be a LeBrain? No way. My brother doesn't deserve it. At this time, Miss Song from the Song family didn't know that I was my brother's biological sister. To ruin this wonderful atmosphere, I quickly stepped forward and took my brother's arm, greeting Miss Song with a smile. Thank you. Otherwise, he would have been hurt today. Sure enough, Miss Song said in a somewhat dejected tone, it's okay. It's just a small favor. The two parties had a brief chat and then said goodbye to each other. In just this short moment, the tips of Miss Song's and my brother's ears turned red. It's so strange. In my previous life, my brother clearly disliked Miss Song. No, after being possessed by a love brain. Except for Yvonne, my brother disliked all women, including my mother and me. This is the thing that I can't understand the most. My brother asked the driver to send the beaten up Andrew, with a bruised and swollen face, back to the Andrew family. If you dare to come to find Fiona again, I'll cripple your third leg. Before leaving, my brother didn't forget to threaten Andrew, whose face was like a pig's head. Andrew seemed to be honest on the surface after being beaten and didn't dare to come to trouble me again. It's just that recently, I've often been blocked by Miss Song. She invites me to have coffee and go shopping for no reason. I don't know where she found out that I'm my brother's biological sister. Every time, she would try to find out about my brother indirectly. Of course, I only said the bad things about him. To be honest, I don't want Miss Song to have a crush on my brother. Just look at his pathetic appearance in my previous life, when he was completely controlled by Yvonne. He doesn't even deserve to wipe Miss Song's shoes. But I can't resist Miss Song, because she offers so much. I went home and euphemistically mentioned it to my brother. My brother's face, which wasn't very white to begin with, turned completely red, and he stammered, "I'm not as amazing as she said." I gave him a disdainful look and nodded, "Indeed, you don't deserve Miss Song at all." I said this from the bottom of my heart. My brother got angry. "What do you mean? What's wrong with me? I'm the top notch." "Okay. Bah. You're so arrogant and shameless." Under my brother's leadership, the Fiona family group is thriving. And Yvonne came out to show her presence again. When she pounced on my brother, I blocked her, and a sharp pain came from my wrist that was accidentally grabbed by her. This bitch. She probably wants to kill me. Yvonne was so frightened that she ran away without caring about the small bottle that fell to the ground. She ran so charmingly. How could she look so cute? I tapped my head. What am I thinking about? It's so ridiculous. How could I think that Yvonne is cute? My brother was extremely angry, and called the manager of the Human Resources Department, asking him to fire Yvonne immediately. She dares to hurt my sister. I think she has some nerve. When the manager of the Human Resources Department came, I stopped him outside. "Transfer Yvonne to me, and make her my exclusive assistant." Under the bewildered looks of my brother and the manager of the Human Resources Department, I slipped away to find Yvonne. "Yvonne, are you going to have a meal? I've ordered a king crab set meal for you." I walked towards Yvonne's workstation. Girls are indeed fragrant and soft. When did my sexual orientation change? Alas. My head hurts. I don't want to think about it. Anyway, Yvonne is the most charming. No, there's no need. Assista Liu. You can have it. I brought my own lunch. Yvonne was so frightened by my enthusiasm that she stepped back repeatedly. My brother came over with an expression as if he had eaten something disgusting and forcefully pulled me away. He didn't let go until he reached his office. "What's wrong with you? Weren't you annoyed with Yvonne? Why have you changed after she bumped into you?" I looked at him in confusion, thinking he was being unreasonable. "Can't I like girls?" My words stunned my brother. And he asked in surprise, "No. You really disliked her before she bumped into you." I smiled. "So that's how it was. Then it must be that I want to catch her attention." "Brother, what do you think is the best way to pursue a girl?" "I think it's better to send you to a psychiatric hospital first." Regardless of how much I fussed, he dragged me into the car and personally took me to the hospital for an examination. After an afternoon of diagnosis by a psychologist, the result came out. The doctor pushed up the glasses that he didn't actually have. "I suggest that you can find a shaman. It seems that she's possessed by evil spirits." My brother was shocked. "This is a hospital. Look at what you're saying. How could she be possessed by evil spirits? I'm an atheist, and you're asking me to find a shaman. Be careful, or I'll sue you." He pointed at the doctor angrily and was about to pull me away. "Wait a minute. I'm not a doctor. I'm an off-book staff member of the hospital. The doctor took a temporary leave this afternoon." The man quickly blocked my brother's way and explained hastily. "So we've been fooled by you all afternoon? And you even asked my sister to find a shaman?" My brother clenched his fist so tightly that they cracked. "I have a Taoist priest certificate. You can come to me. I guarantee high-quality service." The man was so eloquent that he confused my brother. "Brother, why are you so old-fashioned? You can't accept that I like women? If you liked men, I would accept it too. I don't want to see the doctor anymore. I want to see Yvonne." I tried to break free from my brother's hand, and I became even more eager to see my beloved Yvonne. He held my hand tightly and wouldn't let me go. Finally, heading to Feldleibsai, he gritted his teeth and stamped his foot. "Fine. You can cure her. Right? So tell me. How do you cure it? How much does it cost? Your sister has been possessed by an evil spirit, a love goo. You understand, right? She's only infatuated with the person who planted the goo. I'm not asking for a high price. 5 million yuan. Pay 10 first. And the rest after it's solved. The Taoist priest was acting mysterious and deceiving my brother. He opened the payment code and motioned for my brother to scan it. My brother took out his phone and scanned the payment code. Just like that. 500. 0 yuan was gone. Boss. You're so generous. I like people like you. Just wait. The man took off his doctor's coat, revealing the Taoist priest's robe underneath. He took out a pile of herbs from his shabby bag and blocked my ears and nose. A strong fragrance of herbs entered my nose. And then I felt nauseous. Spit here. He took out a small jar from his bag and asked me to spit into it. After a bout of nausea, what I spat out was a living thing that could move. I was really scared. That's right. This is it. It's done. After I rinsed my mouth, a man had already sealed the jar and put it into his bag. I'll give you 2 anti-poison pouches for free. With these things, all kinds of goo can't get close to you too. If they get close, you'll spit them out. It seemed that his bag was bottomless. And he kept taking things out. This time, he took out 2 small persons and gave one to me and one to my brother. Add me on WeChat. If you have any other business next time, come to me. After spitting out that thing, the stupid things I did today became especially clear in my mind. Brother. Luckily I stopped her from bumping into you today. Otherwise, I wouldn't have thought of this. I said to my brother, who had just lost 5 million yuan. Feeling like I had survived a disaster. With your brain. It would be strange if you could think of it. My brother scolded me irritably. I don't know who was possessed by something in the previous life and insisted on clinging to others. In the previous life. My brother. Couldn't he have been hit by a love goo too? Brother. Is Yvonne the type you like? My brother answered without thinking. How could I like a woman like her who is full of schemes? He had an expression on his face as if to say, I'm not crazy. Don't think too much. As soon as we get back to the company, I'll make her leave. A woman with such a corrupt mind is useless to keep around. I'm sure now that in the previous life, my brother was also hit by Yvonne's love goo. The first thing my brother did when we got back to the company was to ask the manager of the Human Resources Department to fire Yvonne. We can't keep a time bomb by our side. Who knows when she'll plant a goo on someone else? Yvonne was very unhappy and said she wanted to come to see me. She didn't believe that I would fire her. So she still didn't know that I was no longer under the influence of the love goo? Can she really use goo? Since that's the case, I'll make a little use of her. I want to find out who is behind her. In the previous life, after stealing the company's secrets, she chose to run away immediately, which shows that she wasn't just targeting my brother. Which competitor could come up with such a dirty trick to deal with the Fiona family? I won't be able to sleep until I find them out. I asked the manager of the Human Resources Department to secretly tell her that I was in the hospital. Before she arrived, I was already lying in a VIP hospital bed of a hospital under the Fiona family. The doctor standing by my side was naturally the little Taoist priest. His appearance fee was 100 yuan each time, which was really expensive. Assistant Liu, have I her? Are you okay? Yvonne came to visit me with a shabby fruit basket. With that pitiful and charming look, she did have some charm. Unfortunately, hadn't fulfilled my. I'm a straight girl. I heard you're sick. Are you feeling better? Since we were going to put on a show, we had to do it thoroughly. Holding back my nausea, I took her hand and gave it a light kiss. Now that you're here, I'll get better no matter what's wrong with me. Yvonne withdrew her hand and said in a coquettish tone, naughty. I'm not a doctor. I'm not that amazing. Then she turned to the doctor and said, Doctor. Is she okay? The doctor was very aloof and just nodded and hummed. I've been fired. Assistant Liu. We won't be able to see each other often in the future. Halfway through the conversation, Yvonne said with a melancholy expression. It doesn't matter. You can be my sweetheart and just take care of me. I'll pay you a salary. Damn it. I've never said such sweet words to a male model. I've said them all to this innocent-looking girl. But President Leo hates me. I stroked her head. A bit too hard. And pulled out a few of her hairs. She complained in pain. What are you doing? I secretly handed the hair strands to the little Taoist priest standing behind her. This was something the little Taoist priest had asked me to do before Yvonne came. My hand is injured, so I can't control my strength. I'm sorry, Yvonne. Before she could say anything, I continued, Yvonne. I'll deal with my brother. Mom and Dad aren't too strict about the gender of our significant others. Trust me. Wait for me. Okay? Under my tender gaze. Yvonne trembled slightly all over. How could a girl with a normal sexual orientation accept another woman? Finally, having fulfilled my obsai, I pouted and motioned for her to come closer so that I could kiss her. Assistant Leo. You should have a good rest. If you need anything, contact me by phone. Yvonne ran away. She really can't take a joke. You have some talent. After seeing her walk away, the little Taoist priest spoke and made fun of me. I'm flattered. I'm not as amazing as you. Who asked me to find a shaman in a hospital? It's just making fun of people. Anyone can do it. He touched his nose and smiled awkwardly. You have a sharp tongue. I'll contact you if there's any result. You just keep acting well. After saying that, he left without even closing the door of the ward. I announced in my WeChat moments that I was going to pursue Yvonne. And my moments exploded that day. I haven't heard of which family the Sue family is. Which man has this name? Sister Fiona has changed her taste? She even knows how to pursue someone now? My friends made all kinds of comments. I directly posted Yvonne's photo in the group. Damn it. Fiona. Your parents will skin you alive. Fiona. I've known you for more than 20 years. When did you change your sexual orientation? Most of the sisters in the group know my personality. My sudden change was hard for them to accept. There were even more direct ones. Someone invited a shaman to my house. I don't know how powerful the shaman is. Anyway, my best friend spent a lot of money on her. In the end, she just gave me a copper coin and told me to carry it with me. Sister. I spent 100 yuan. But I still can't drain the water out of your brain? My best friend poked my forehead angrily. Don't be like this. Girls are really fragrant. But I only love Yvonne. After more than half a month of making a fuss, nothing came of it. And I still had to do what I had to do. However, after their commotion, Yvonne seemed to have found out that I'm from the Fiona family and became much more enthusiastic towards me. For example, tonight, I was writing a proposal in the study. Yvonne, who was staying at my house, brought in a glass of milk. Fiona, why aren't you sleeping so late? I rubbed my brows and looked at the time. It was almost 12 o'clock. I should go to bed. But this bidding proposal is almost done. We're sure to win this time. I generously turned my laptop around to let her see the proposal I was writing. I don't want to look at it. This thing must be very important to you. Yvonne turned her head and said, if you really didn't want to look at it, you wouldn't have run away as soon as you got the things in the previous life. You're really good at pretending. Just like a plastic bag. After complaining in my heart, I continued inferiorly. The files in this computer are related to the entire Fiona family group. They are really important to me. But you're Yvonne. And you won't harm me. It doesn't matter if you take a look. Yvonne shyly handed me the milk, and I drank it up in one gulp. Soon after, I fell into a deep sleep and didn't know anything about what happened next. Early in the morning, my brother called to urge me to get up. Little troublemaker. Hurry up. We're waiting for your plan. We're going to a negotiation today. I fell asleep directly in the small room of the study last night, and I woke up with aches all over my body. It was obvious that someone had touched my computer. And all the files in it were damaged. Yvonne had run away. After washing and grooming, I picked up the computer and rushed out in a flurry. On the way, having fulfilled my exhaustion, I called Yvonne countless times. But no one answered. When I met my brother, we exchanged a glance. And then we went to find the client with the computer in our hands. The client, Mr. Zhang, came to greet us in person. He said that the Andrew family had already submitted a plan to him, and he was very satisfied with it. Why is the Andrew family involved everywhere? As expected. The plan that Andrew gave to Mr. Zhang was the one I had stayed up all night to write. Yvonne had stolen my plan and given it to Andrew. When did the two of them start colluding? I originally wanted to catch the mastermind behind the scenes this time. But it turned out to be Andrew. This shouldn't be right. Andrew doesn't have that ability. Forget it. Let's hold our ground for now and wait for the little Taoist priest's news. President Leo. Unless the Fiona family can come up with a plan that satisfies me even more. Otherwise. Mr. Zhang smiled and handed my brother a cup of tea. My brother also smiled and took the teacup, taking a small sip. Mr. Zhang. Don't worry. We will definitely do that. The two of them smiled and shook hands. And they got along very harmoniously. Can you write an even better plan? My brother didn't say this until we got back to the company. In my previous life, most of the plans of the Andrew family were written by me. But it wasn't publicly announced. Yvonne stole my plan. But she didn't steal my brain. The plan in my head is always the better one. Just as I finished writing the plan, the little Taoist priest called me. Hello. I've caught the person who used the goo, a kind of mysterious sorcery. Yvonne is also here. I've tied them both up. Do you want to come and have a look? So fast? I didn't expect the little Taoist priest to be so capable. I thought I would have to wait for a long time. Driven by curiosity, I asked for the address and hurried there. The address the little Taoist priest gave me was an abandoned warehouse. He took me inside, where there was a man and a woman tied up. The man was still unconscious. Yvonne had already woken up. When she saw me, she looked at me with a pleading gaze. Yvonne, you've been caught. I lifted her chin with my finger and laughed loudly. You put the love goo on me, damaged my files, and stole my plan. You really have some nerve. Yvonne's gaze was no longer pitiful but became sharp. I untied the cloth in her mouth, and she started cursing, not looking as weak as she usually did. Bitch, bitch. How dare you play tricks on me? You're still babbling on when you're about to face the consequences. The Taoist priest had a cookie in his mouth and mumbled. Hey hey hey. I'm a law-abiding citizen. Killing people is illegal. I quickly stopped his evil thoughts. The Taoist priest was choked by the cookie and coughed. Keek. What are you thinking? I mean, she was used by others and has lost years of her life. I have an official position. You know, I'm very law-abiding. That's more like it. The little Taoist priest thought Yvonne was too talkative and sealed her mouth again. In front of her, he placed a small bowl of blood next to the unconscious man. Look. There are all kinds of worms in his blood. I have to hand this person over to the higher authorities for handling. The little Taoist priest took out his shabby bag and put the man in it. He just put him in like that. I was stunned. I originally just thought he was a person with some skills in the Taoist arts. But I didn't expect it to be so outrageous. This is beyond my understanding. The little Taoist priest laughed at my lack of knowledge. This is a Kun bag. You can put anything in it. This person who used the goo is an illegal resident, and his background is unknown. This was his explanation to me. As if to say that even if this person disappeared, no one would come to track him down? I nodded mechanically. And Yvonne next to me was really frightened. The little Taoist priest untied the cloth in her mouth again and motioned for her to speak. I'll say it. I'll say everything. Please spare me. Master. Yvonne was originally an ordinary girl until she met her neighbor brother. The neighbor brother was a fitness coach. And he was very nice to Yvonne. He was so nice that when Yvonne said she wanted to be the future wife of the head of the Fiona family, he took out the love goo and asked her to plant it on my brother. By accident, the love goo was planted on me. Unexpectedly. My brother quickly noticed something was wrong and took me to the hospital for an examination. Yvonne didn't understand the goo, so she didn't know that the goo on me was already gone. After the little Taoist priest accepted the love goo, he cast a spell to make it backfire on the person who raised the goo. That person was seriously injured and fell into a coma, and he didn't have time to tell Yvonne that the goo on me was already gone. The reason why Yvonne joined hands with Andrew was that Andrew found her, and promised to give her 3 million yuan. and she just needed to steal the plan. Yvonne, having fulfilled my adversion, who had a normal sexual orientation, chose the 3 million yuan and took the risk to steal my plan. As soon as the man who raised the gu woke up, he asked Yvonne to come and see him. The little Taoist priest had already used Yvonne's hair to perform a spell. As long as she got close to the man who raised the gu, the little Taoist priest could sense the location. After catching the two of them, the little Taoist priest called me and asked me to come and see. The story is really melodramatic, but that's exactly what happened. I originally thought it was just a simple case of being reborn. But who knew that there would be these mysterious and fantastical things involved around me? Life is really wonderful. I sent Yvonne to the police station, and she was imprisoned for the crime of theft. Before she left that day, she also stole the jewelry worth 7 figures that my mother bought for me. I had deliberately left it outside. The jewelry was real, and the miniature locator in the jewelry was also real, and in the room where the jewelry was kept in my house, the surveillance cameras covered every angle without any blind spots. The police officers found the jewelry lost at Yvonne's home. Coupled with the conclusive evidence from the surveillance, Yvonne had to confess. Before, I openly showed it off in my moments just to make Yvonne relax her vigilance. She was too timid, and I was afraid she wouldn't be able to succeed. As for the files she damaged, they were all empty files. But I had added a lock to them, and she couldn't view them, so she destroyed them. She won't live for more than 3 years. That man who raised the gu has taken away a lot of her lifespan. The little Taoist priest talked to me about Yvonne before he left. That means Yvonne will die before she finishes serving her sentence. The little Taoist priest soon explained to me why Yvonne ran away after stealing things in my previous life. The person who raised the gu was hired at a high salary by the Wang family, which is the Fiona family's rival. At first, he deliberately got close to Yvonne with the purpose of planting the love gu on my brother. The love gu is the simplest and the easiest to manipulate people's minds. And Yvonne, a vain woman, was a good target for the person who raised the gu to recruit. He kept guiding Yvonne that if she could get close to my brother, she could live a good life. Yvonne's heart was not firm in the first place, and with his instigation, her ambition was ignited at once. Everything seemed to happen naturally. Unexpectedly, having fulfilled my intention, I suddenly appeared halfway and ruined his big plan. Later, he met the little Taoist priest, and everything developed in a direction he couldn't predict. When the little Taoist priest said this, I was very grateful. In my previous life, without my interference, the plan of the person who raised the gu was successful. If I hadn't been reborn, if I hadn't accidentally been planted with the love gu, and if I hadn't met the little Taoist priest, in this life, perhaps his plan could have been successful too. Unfortunately, it didn't succeed in the end. The person who hired the person who raised the gu didn't end up well either. The person who raised the gu had already planted a life and death gu on that person. And since the person who raised the gu had an evil heart, he was bound to be eliminated. Within a month, the head of the Wang family suddenly died of a sudden illness. And the Wang group was exposed for illegal issues such as tax evasion. Finding out the truth. Perhaps this is the reason why I was reborn. Naturally, Andrew's cooperation with Mr. Zhang didn't work out, and our better plan was adopted by Mr. Zhang. The incident of stealing the plants spread throughout the entire circle, and Andrew's reputation was completely ruined. Many companies refused to cooperate with the Andrew family, and the business of the Andrew family plummeted. He asked the Chloe family for investment, but the Chloe family refused. Chloe was someone they had already given up on, and naturally, they wouldn't bother to help a castaway. Andrew was so busy that he was in a mess and had no time to accompany Chloe. Chloe caused all kinds of trouble at home, saying how hard her life was. Before long, Andrew called Chloe's ex-boyfriend and asked him to take her away. That person didn't agree and said that he couldn't wish for anything more than someone else raising his child for him. In the end, Andrew gave that person 200 yuan, and then that person came to take Chloe away. Before long, Chloe launched an online attack, saying that her boyfriend had abused her. The Chloe family sent her abroad to have a baby for the sake of their reputation. As for that man, He was so severely cyber-bullied that he lost his mind and was sent to a mental hospital. This incident made people in the circle sigh with emotion. I really didn't expect that Andrew was happily playing the role of a father. But he actually let someone take the baby away. Exactly. He even gave money. It's so funny. He's more aggrieved than a turtle. The woman from the Chloe family finally stopped relying on men. I also wanted to laugh. Andrew's true love was only worth 200 yuan. And Chloe, even though she was reborn, still couldn't avoid domestic violence. Fortunately, having fulfilled the Chloe family finally sent her abroad. I hope she can live a good life in this life and understand that it's better to rely on herself than on others. The company of the Andrew family was heavily in debt, and in the end, it was completely acquired by the Song family and used for Miss Song to practice managing a business. As for Andrew, after the company was acquired, he was severely beaten by several masked people. The people who beat him were the former shareholders of the Andrew family, who just wanted to vent their anger. Andrew's brain was damaged, and he became demented. The couple of the Andrew family sent him to a nursing home. They didn't have time to take care of him. Andrew's mother was pregnant at an advanced age and was busy taking care of her pregnancy. In the words of my best friends in our gossip group, this is like giving up on the main account and starting to train a new one. As for my family, recently, my brother has been shamelessly pursuing Miss Song. And Miss Song agreed to be with him after being reserved for 2 days. I've been busy dealing with Andrew recently and haven't had time to care about my brother's affairs. Forget it. They are like Shu Yu beating Huang Ge. One is willing to beat, and the other is willing to be beaten. What can I do? I'll focus on my career. Soft sister currency money is much more attractive than men. The end. My painting won an award, but the signature on it was that of my mother's adopted daughter. On the day when the adopted daughter went on stage to receive the award, my mother insisted on leaving me, who was critically ill, to give her flowers. In the end, I died painfully and alone in the intensive care unit. When I opened my eyes again, I returned to the night when my mother stole the painting for love. I smiled and set fire to all the works in the studio. In this life, it's their turn to go to hell. Ivy, Aurora can't go on stage to receive the award without her mother giving her flowers. She'll be laughed at. By my hospital bed, my mother pushed my hand away anxiously. After saying that, she ignored the doctor's persuasion and left in a hurry, holding a bouquet of lilies. Under the sympathetic gazes of the people around me, I smiled weakly and self-deprecating lie. The patient's heart has stopped. Defibrillator. The family member of Ivy doesn't answer the phone. In the midst of the noise and chaos, I closed my eyes filled with hatred. Bang! The vase fell, and the delicate lilies scattered all over the floor. I stood in the familiar studio as if waking up from a dream. Could it be that I was reborn? The studio was silent, and not far away was that painting that was like a nightmare to me. Redemption. In my previous life, in order to participate in the domestic art exhibition, I painstakingly created it. But the painting was mysteriously lost the night before it was sent out. After missing the art exhibition, my anxiety disorder worsened, and I couldn't paint anymore. However, my mother's adopted daughter, Aurora, secretly won the gold award with this painting, and was even recommended for admission to a well-known art university because of it. It was only before I fell into a coma due to a serious injury, and I learned that they had stolen my painting back then. In this life, it's your turn to go to hell. Thinking of those two people, I smiled, took a large piece of gauze from the corner, and lit it. I raised my hand and threw it forcefully. Sparks scattered, and the fire burned more and more fiercely. Soon, the flames engulfed all the paintings of different sizes in the room and burned the fragmented lilies on the floor to the ground. Before leaving, after hesitating several times, I still took away that painting. Redemption. The next day, I sat at the dining table leisurely, drinking soy milk. There were a few blooming fresh lilies placed at the corner of the table. The door was pushed open, and my mother came in with a worried expression, accompanied by Aurora. Her tone was solemn. Ivy, the studio caught fire, and all your paintings are gone. I looked up and admired their complex expressions. Feeling quite good. Why did you go to the studio? Mom and I thought you were painting and went to check on you. Aurora's face was extremely unnatural, and she mumbled a small explanation. Her lowered hand anxiously rubbed the corner of her clothes. Check on me? They went to steal the painting. Right? I nodded unhurriedly and continued to drink soy milk in silence. The atmosphere was silent. Aurora bit her lower lip uneasily and looked to the side for help. Seeing this, my mother patted her back reassuringly and stepped forward to pretend to be concerned. Ivy. The exhibition is tomorrow. Can you still finish your painting in time? Yes, having fulfilled my obsession. I took the painting home last night and finished it. I smiled gently and took out Redemption from behind me to show it. They immediately surrounded me, and the admiration in their eyes couldn't be hidden. Sister Ivy. Does it have a name? Aurora carefully touched the frame of the painting, and her face was full of possessiveness. I drank a few more sips of soy milk inferently and thought for a few seconds. It's called Rebirth. On the large canvas, a decadent figure was faintly outlined. The person's face was blurred, and they stood in the firelight like a moth to a flame. This is my rebirth. Great. The name is nice. And the painting is beautiful too. Ivy. You're amazing. My mother held the painting in her arms with satisfaction, as if she had a new idea. She exchanged a few knowing glances with Aurora and then cleared her throat. Ivy. How about Mom sending the painting for you? No. I'll just go downstairs and send it later. I shook my head, put down the soy milk, and reached out my hand towards the painting. Unexpectedly, Aurora reacted strongly. She pulled my mother and took a few steps back abruptly. No way. Sister. What's wrong with you? My hand that was reaching for the painting froze in midair. Looking a bit awkward, I frowned and pretended to be confused as I looked at her, trying hard to suppress the corners of my mouth that were about to turn up. They didn't manage to steal the painting last night, and now they're really going to play tricks on my painting. This is really so interesting. Ivy. You have your breakfast properly. Let me and your sister send it for you. Don't you trust us? My mother smiled stiffly and reluctantly. As she spoke, she walked toward the entrance on her own. She was like a loving mother who was determined to do something for her child. Aurora hurried to follow, for fear that I would catch up, but before she left, she still looked back at me triumphantly. Okay. Then you be careful. Seeing this, I could only shout out my concerns reluctantly. You guys better be careful. Those who dare to step on me to climb to the clouds should be prepared to fall and be shattered to pieces. Hello? Is this Miss Ivy? I didn't answer the constantly buzzing phone until their figures disappeared. A man's cold voice came from the other end. Serafina. Your painting Rebirth has been sent to Berlin for the competition on your behalf. It's completely confidential as you requested. Thank you. The game officially begins. A month later, the results of the domestic art exhibition were announced. When my mother came back with Aurora from outside, I had just opened the award letter sent by the organizing committee. Congratulations, sister. Your painting won an award. Ivy. What are you doing? When Aurora saw the thing in my hand, her face immediately changed greatly, and she shrieked and pounced on me. After snatching the award letter, she immediately looked at me warily, as if facing a formidable enemy. Sister. I'm happy for you. What does it say on it? I haven't seen it clearly yet. I spread my hands and tilted my head innocently to explain. I was lying to her. I saw it. Award-winning work, Rebirth. Signature, Aurora. But perhaps I pretended to be too natural, and Aurora believed me. She let out a long sigh of relief. My mother put down the vegetable basket and came over. She happily touched her head. Great. Aurora is amazing. Now the matter of being recommended for admission is certain. Thank you. Mom. I love you so much. Aurora excitedly hugged my mother, and the mother and daughter hugged each other closely. I just stood quietly on the side, like an outsider in the family. Since that's the case, I won't let them get what they want. Sister. Can I go with you to the award ceremony tomorrow? I suddenly stepped forward and interrupted, my eyes full of anticipation. Upon hearing my words, the expressions of my mother and Aurora instantly froze, and they stood there stunned. If I went to the scene, the trick of substituting the real thing with a fake would be discovered. Aurora frowned and came over to gently put her arm around mine. Sister Ivy. There will be so many people at this kind of occasion. What if your anxiety disorder flares up? Your health is more important. What your sister said is right. Ivy. You'd better stay at home and rest well. Seeing that I didn't agree, my mother also chimed in. The two of them exchanged knowing glances and tacitly blocked my way. But this little trick is far from enough. Mom. Sister. I'm much better recently. If you don't take me with you, I'll go by myself. I pretended to be angry and pushed Aurora's hand away. I lowered my head and was about to search for the route to the art exhibition. Aurora stomped her foot and paced around anxiously. My mother was quick to react and rushed up to confiscate my phone. She smiled extremely amiably. You child. We didn't say we wouldn't take you. Why are you getting angry so easily? But Mom. It's settled. We'll take Ivy with us tomorrow. My mother interrupted Aurora's hesitant words and secretly gave her a reassuring look. During dinner that night, my mother brought a bowl of soup. You've been working hard these days. Your painting didn't win an award this time. But we'll try harder next time. In Mom's heart, Ivy is always the best. She placed the hot soup in front of me and gently stroked my head with her hand in a loving manner. The aroma of the black-boned chicken soup wafted to my nose. I lowered my head and hid the look in my eyes. There are peanut crumbs in this. And I'm allergic to peanuts. So this is what they're up to. Under her extremely expectant gaze, I drank it spoonful by spoonful with a smile. Thank you, Mom. Ivy is so good. As they expected, I started to have an allergic reaction that night. And red rashes covered my face. So early the next morning, they left me without a qualm to attend the award ceremony. Before leaving, my mother was still holding a large bouquet of fresh lilies in her hand. And Aurora had a glowing complexion, making her small face look even more innocent and charming. I smiled and waved to send them out, admiring their bright and beautiful backs. I didn't go back to my room until I couldn't see them anymore. I drew the curtains and quietly waited in the dark room. Soon, a sharp whistle sounded downstairs. The extinguished screen lit up, and it was the police calling. Is this Ivy? Your family members have had a car accident. How could this be? How could there be a car accident? I pretended to be panicked. And even my voice became hoarse. The red Chinese rose on the windowsill was broken. And the small thorns pricked my finger pad. And blood flowed. This is my favorite flower. But ever since my mother adopted Aurora, there have always been only lilies in the house. Even in my studio, she filled it with lilies. The brake line of the car was in disrepair for a long time and malfunctioned. They hit a utility pole at the corner. The police on the other end clearly and systematically analyzed the cause of the accident. I raised my hand to cover the phone and couldn't help but raise the corners of my mouth widely, laughing happily alone in the dark. The brake line malfunctioned. That's really great. They really can't find out. They've been sent to the ambulance now. Fortunately, the car wasn't going fast, so it's not too serious. Okay, having fulfilled my sigh. I see. After the call ended, the room was silent for a long time. I lifted the canvas that had been tightly covered and boldly painted bright red colors on it. A painting nourished by hatred will definitely be very beautiful. It's a pity they weren't killed. But fortunately, we have plenty of time ahead. Although they didn't make it to the award ceremony because of the car accident, Aurora was still recommended for admission to the Central Academy of Fine Arts because of her award. After being discharged from the hospital, my mother grandly held a celebration banquet for her. The banquet was held in a hotel in the city center, and my mother sent invitations to all kinds of relatives. She and Aurora were in identical green cheongsam. When they stood at the door together to greet the guests, they looked like real mother and daughter. Didn't you tell me it was a banquet for Ivy? Who is this? An elegant middle-aged woman was warmly welcomed in by my mother. But she didn't take her seat. Instead, she stood there and looked Aurora up and down as if examining her. Aurora's face froze. And her smile froze on her lips. She lowered her head aggrievedly. And my mother immediately took her hand lovingly and introduced her obsequious lie. Ivy. I said it was a banquet for my daughter. Her name is Aurora. And she's also my daughter. Aurora. Say hello to Ivy. I sat in the corner with my arms crossed, watching the show with interest. The woman she called Ivy was my father's older sister. Since the divorce, my mother has rarely had contact with those people. But Serafina is a well-known art curator in the industry and knows many artists. My mother is deliberately introducing connections to Aurora to help her on her artistic path. You tricked me here with the name Ivy. You're trying to pave the way for an outsider with your own daughter. It's a pity that Serafina, don't think much of just anyone. Serafina lifted her chin disapprovingly and deliberately ignored Aurora's false greeting. She looked around for a long time before she found me with a plain expression in the corner. Oh, our Ivy has grown up to be so beautiful. I still remember that you were so talented in painting. Ivy. She strode over and gently rubbed my head. When she looked at me, her eyes were full of admiration. My mother, though mocked by her, wasn't discouraged at all. Ivy. Aurora is also very good at painting. This time, she even got recommended for admission too. It's too noisy here. Ivy. Let's find a place to sit down. Auntie will tell you about the latest news in the domestic art circle recently. Under the gaze of everyone, Serafina interrupted my mother's words in a cold tone and didn't show any kindness. She immediately put her arm around me and led me to sit in the corner. From beginning to end, Aurora, who was treated like trash and despised, stood there with an unwilling expression on her face. She bit her lower lip awkwardly and glared at me resentfully. So when they went on stage later, she became even more complacent and put her arm around my mother. The two of them seemed even more intimate in front of me. Thank you all for coming to our family's celebration banquet for Aurora's recommended admission today. It's all because of my mother that I can be where I am today. They talked one after another, full of mother-daughter affection. I drank the orange juice calmly and listened carefully to Serafina's art sharing. Ivy, what are your plans for the future? Just let me know if you need my help. Thank you, Auntie. I raised the corners of my lips and smiled, then took out an admission notice from my bosom and handed it to her. The Royal College of Art in the UK. Sure. After Serafina saw the content on it, she exclaimed first, and then excitedly hugged me into her arms. I patted her back to signal her to be quieter. This is the world's top art college. Why didn't you tell everyone? She gently raised her hand to tidy up the stray hair by my ear, and her face was full of relief. I glanced at the people on the stage a few times and curled the corners of my lips playfully, because I want to give them a surprise. When the banquet was over, Serafina stuffed a picture album into my arms, and there was also a small check inside. My mother was still putting her arm around Aurora to see off the guests and proudly showing off to her own family. When she saw me coming, her expression became a little unnatural. Several elders from my mother's side glanced at me and then landed on Aurora's wrist. Isn't this the dowry that our mother gave to Ivy before she passed away? How did it end up in her hands? Upon hearing this, Aurora shrank her hand and timidly hid behind my mother. She had coaxed it from my mother last night. Mom said it was left for her granddaughter. And it's the same to give it to Aurora. This is to reward her for being recommended to university. My mother didn't feel anything was wrong at all and argued righteously. The elders from my mother's side exchanged a subtle look, and in the end, they didn't say anything. It was just that when they looked at me before leaving, there was a trace of pity in their eyes. I forced a smile and suppressed the malice in my eyes. This kind of pity. It's better to save it for the day of my mother's and Aurora's funerals. After that day, Aurora began to occupy my mother more blatantly. The school was about to hold a graduation ceremony and had carefully arranged a parent flower-giving session. Aurora and I were in the same school and graduating at the same time. Ivy. Aurora has no relatives since she was a child and is more sensitive. If she doesn't have her mother to give her flowers at the graduation ceremony, she will be laughed at. My mother ordered a large bouquet of fresh lilies from the flower shop. It was only when she and Aurora came in talking and laughing after buying their graduation gowns that she suddenly remembered me. Got it. I was sitting cross-legged in the living room flipping to the picture album and nodded inferiorly. Seeing that I didn't react much, My mother instead became unhappy and started to lecture me. You're not angry with mom, are you? Can you be more tolerant of your sister? I'm not angry. I'm sleepy and I'm going upstairs. Last night, Ivy had also sent me some materials about studying in the UK. And I hadn't finished reading them yet. Angry? I won't be angry. I had already given up on her in my last life. Okay. Go to bed early. Ivy. You're graduating tomorrow. Mom wishes you a happy graduation in advance. My mother came over and hugged me. When she got close and saw my facial features clearly, she showed a bit of disgust. She immediately let go with a cold expression, and then walked into the kitchen with a smile on her face while chatting with Aurora. They were holding several bags of ingredients for the late-night snack in their hands. And my mother was beaming with joy as she talked to Aurora. After their figures disappeared, I raised my hand and touched my face. This face is very similar to my father who didn't love my mother. But what's most like my father is my artistic talent, that has been different from others since I was a child. The better I became at painting over the years, the more she hated me. In the end, she even stubbornly adopted a new daughter in the orphanage who looked like her. She's really a lunatic. During the flower-giving session of the ceremony, I went on stage and came off stage alone, looking out of place in the crowd. My mother was sitting in the parents section, chatting with the people around her as Aurora's mother. It wasn't until the principal came on stage that the scene fell silent. Next, let's invite the outstanding graduate of this year, Ivy, to come on stage and give a speech. Classmate Ivy has been admitted to the world's top art college. She is our. Amid warm applause, I walked onto the stage gracefully. In the parents section, my mother stood up in surprise and then sat down dejectedly. Aurora's face turned green and then purple, and she gritted her teeth and ran out. The speech and the ceremony ended at the same time, and the crowd dispersed. I returned to the parents section from the backstage and, as expected, saw my mother holding Aurora's hand and chatting with the instructor. Aurora is really excellent. You're really good at teaching to have raised such an excellent daughter. The instructor's words satisfied my mother's vanity, and she was immediately overjoyed. My mother was about to brag with a smile on her lips, but the instructor mumbled and turned away. I don't know who Ivy's parents are. The child is so excellent. But they didn't come. After hearing this clearly, my mother's face instantly froze. When she saw my figure, her smile gradually became awkward. In the car on the way home, it was terrifyingly silent. Only I had a smile on my lips from beginning to end. At the dinner table in the evening, the atmosphere was a bit more tense and anxious than usual. I picked up a mouthful of food and looked up with a half smile. Mom. Sister. Aren't you going to congratulate me? Aurora's hand that was scooping rice stopped. She turned her face away, and her eyes became red. My mother's expression also became a bit awkward. She forced a smile and said, "Why didn't you tell us about the Royal College of Art earlier? I wanted to give you a surprise." She was at a loss for words, and could only lower her head and eat in silence. After a while, she spoke again with a guilty conscience. "Studying abroad is too expensive. Mom might not have the money to send you there." Hearing this, the smile on my lips deepened. Since the divorce, my mother hasn't gone to work, and most of the money left by my father has been spent. The tuition fee for or after being recommended for admission is nearly 100 yuan a year, and it will also cost a lot for me to study abroad. The family's financial pressure is indeed not small. But my mother isn't really short of money. She just chose to sacrifice me. Amid Aurora's sneer, I winked playfully. "Mom, having solved my obsession. Don't worry. I got a full scholarship, and the tuition fee is waived. I can study abroad on my own." My mother completely shut up and didn't say anything, and her face was terribly dark. "I'm full." Aurora suddenly put down her rice bowl and ran upstairs in a fit of pique. Seeing this, my mother got up worriedly but finally sat down again. She naturally picked up a piece of shrimp and put it in my bowl, with a gentle look in her eyes. But the words she said weren't very pleasant. "Mom can't bear to part with you. The UK is too far away from home. How about we don't go? I'm full too." I put down the bowl and got up and went upstairs on my own. Before entering the room, I deliberately leaned on the railing and raised a big smile. Mom, I'm allergic to seafood. Don't forget next time. When Aurora started school, I was still at home. If I remember correctly, Hannington felt my obsession. That big thing was going to happen. Not long after Aurora entered school in my last life. She became famous in an art exhibition. She used the works that had been gathering dust in my studio at that time. But now, all my old works were burned in that fire. Aurora, having fulfilled my obsession. What are you going to do? In the middle of the night, I went back to the studio with charred walls alone. While I was quietly tidying up, the door of the studio was pushed open. My mother came in holding a small bouquet of fresh lilies, just as she was about to put the flowers into the newly bought white porcelain vase. I raised my hand to stop her. Mom, I don't like lilies. Okay. She smiled awkwardly and sat down on the wooden table that I had tidied up with a look of disgust. I raised my eyebrows expectantly. What new trick was this? Aurora watched me kneeling on the floor scrubbing, without showing any intention of helping. After I finally finished tidying up, she pretended to casually bring up the topic. By the way, Mom, Ivy is going to the UK soon. Didn't you say you wanted a painting to hang in the living room? No, No. I'm just afraid that I won't be able to see Ivy for a long time. And I'll feel sad. My mother immediately covered her chest cooperatively. And the corners of her eyes were moist. So they wanted my painting. Under their expectant gazes, I smiled and nodded. Okay. Mom, I'll paint a landscape for you. No, I don't like landscapes. I want a portrait. A portrait? Yes. A portrait. My mother stammered as she made her request and glanced at Aurora from time to time. It was obvious that she didn't understand art at all. She was just reciting the lines prepared by someone else. It seemed that the theme of this art exhibition was portraits. Then let me give them a good hand. A portrait is no problem. But I'm not in the mood recently. Oh, Mom will like whatever Ivy paints. My mother just thought I was being modest and happily held my hand. She seemed to have already seen the scene ever or winning an award again in the art exhibition. Until the painting was finished. Sister Ivy, what you painted. How about treating this painting as a practice? And you paint another one for Ma? Seeing the work with a mess of colors and structure, Aurora was obviously a bit anxious. She glared at me secretly in dissatisfaction and tried to persuade me to paint it again with a smile. I'm tired. Mom said she likes whatever I paint. Right. Mom? I squeezed my wrist and looked at my mother innocently. She couldn't understand the painting and immediately nodded randomly following my words. This is the most popular abstract painting method in contemporary art. You've been recommended to the Central Academy of Fine Arts. Sister. You can't not understand it, right? Seeing that Aurora was so anxious that she was sweating profusely, I immediately propped up my chin with great interest and looked at her. Her pupils shrank, and her face suddenly turned gloomy. Since she came to this family, she had taken away my mother's love and my position in the family by pretending. But the only thing she couldn't take away was my artistic talent. Of course I understand. Glaring at me fiercely a few times, Aurora gritted her teeth and left with the painting in her arms, accompanied by my mother. Looking at their slightly embarrassed figures as they left, I laughed so hard that I could hardly catch my breath. Then I wished them good luck. What's wrong with you, sister? After finishing the materials for studying in the UK and returning home, as soon as I entered the door, I saw Aurora lying on the sofa, crying silently. My mother was so distressed that she was running around in a flurry, squatting beside her and coaxing her in a soft voice. When she saw me coming back, her face instantly turned gloomy. It's none of your business. Oh. I nodded, and tactfully carried the gold award certificate from the Berlin competition in my arms and went upstairs. Of course. It's my business. That abstract portrait painting that I deliberately scribbled on could prevent Aurora from even making it to the second round of the art exhibition's judging. I heard that when she entered the school, she was hailed as a painting genius. But now she's probably become the laughingstock of the whole school. Just as I was about to enter my room, my mother received a phone call. What? Aurora's painting is suspected of plagiarizing the work that won the Gold Award at the Berlin International Art Competition. She shrieked in surprise and fell off the sofa in a fit of excitement. Aurora's figure froze, and she slowly raised her small face in a daze. I withdrew my steps and leaned on the railing, quietly watching the good show begin. Ivy, tell me honestly, did you plagiarize that painting, Rebirth? After hanging up the phone, my mother came upstairs in a rage and grabbed me to question me. Her face was slightly distorted, and the undisguised disgust was evident in her eyes. I didn't plagiarize. You still say you didn't? The review committee has already called and said that Rebirth is exactly the same as the work that won the Gold Award at the Berlin Art Competition. She raised her hand, and it seemed that the slap was about to land. I pulled her hand away with an innocent look on my face and opened the award certificate in my arms. But Mom, the person who won the Gold Award at the Berlin Art Competition is me. My mother and Aurora, who had chased after me to accuse me, were caught off guard. The scene was immediately as silent as death. Sister Ivy, did you paint two versions of Rebirth? Aurora's lips were pale, and her nails dug deeply into the palms of her hands. Yeah, hadn't fulfilled my obsession. One was sent to the Berlin competition, and the other was for the domestic art exhibition. I nodded sincerely and smiled extremely brightly. Her face gradually turned ugly, and she frowned and looked at my mother for help. My mother's emotions were instantly ignited, and she questioned me with a full head of anger. Why didn't you tell me that you were participating in the Berlin competition? What were you thinking? What's the matter? Mom? Aren't you happy that I won an international gold award? I pursed my lips and pretended to be disappointed as I lowered my head. Since they want to put on an act, I'll accompany them to the end. Happy? Of course I'm happy. Mom is just too excited. The expression on my mother's face almost couldn't hold up. Afraid of revealing the truth, she could only force a smile and casually praise me a few words. She turned her head away and didn't look at me, and carefully put her arm around the tottering Aurora. Seeing that they had nothing to say, I shrugged and went back to my room on my own. Before closing the door, I poked my head out in confusion again. By the way, I thought I heard my sister's name just now. Something about plagiarism. What are you talking about? How could Aurora possibly plagiarize? Oh. They were so startled by my words that they rushed downstairs in a hurry. Only when there was no more noise outside did I finally couldn't help but laugh out loud with my head lowered. With a light tap of my finger, the voice recorder hidden in my pocket paused instantly. I got the evidence. This is really so interesting. On the day when the investigation team of the art exhibition came to our house, the administrative director of the Central Academy of Fine Arts also came at the same time. My mother specifically ordered me early in the morning to go to a supermarket to drive away to buy onions. Knowing that something was wrong with her, I just bought onions from a small stall downstairs. When I got home, I put the full bag of onions at the entrance and sat quietly in the corner to eavesdrop. Mom of Ivy, if student Aurora is confirmed to have plagiarized, the punishment given by the school is expulsion. After a round of pleasantries, the director opened his mouth with a somewhat serious expression. Of course there's no plagiarism. Both versions of Rebirth were painted by our Aurora. My mother's voice was a bit sharper than usual, and I could tell that her throat was a little tight. Aurora, as always, was weak and incompetent, shrinking behind her and not saying a word. But the person who won the gold award at the Berlin International competition is named Ivy. Aurora has changed her name. Mom, I'm back. Why did I hear someone calling my name just now? I picked up the onions and walked briskly into the living room, seizing the opportunity to interrupt my mother's lie. When my mother and Aurora saw me, their faces changed drastically. Before they could explain, the people from the organizing committee's eyes lit up. Are you Ivy? Yes. Under my mother's urgent shaking of her head as a signal, I pretended not to understand and nodded. Did you paint the Rebirth that won the gold award at the Berlin International competition this year? Yeah. I smiled and stepped forward to make tea for them, taking the opportunity to dodge the hand that my mother secretly pinched on my waist. The several people from the organizing committee exchanged glances and asked her for an explanation with an unfriendly expression. The scene was silent for a few seconds. My mother turned her face away and didn't look at me. She stammered a bit when she spoke. Both were painted by Aurora. I accompanied her in the studio every night while she was painting. Rebirth was lost the night before the exhibition. So Aurora painted another one. I don't know how Ivy took it to participate in the competition. Sister has always been relatively excellent. Ivy just wanted to be recognized by everyone so much that she made a mistake for a moment. She hugged Aurora tightly with a pale face, looking a bit embarrassed. What a fine act of upholding justice even at the cost of one's own kin. I raised my eyebrows and stood there quietly listening to her fabricating stories. With my mother's strong testimony, the situation immediately reversed. The faces of the people from the organizing committee darkened, and they looked at us seriously with their eyes. Mom of Ivy. If it's true that Ivy plagiarized, then she will be expelled from the Royal College of Art. And her artistic career will be ruined. Since it concerns my future. His words were serious. My mother's face turned even paler. And she looked at me with difficulty. But I still had an indifferent expression. And there was no ripple in my eyes as I looked back at her. Mom. Aurora choked and shrank into her arms, shedding tears patter by patter. My mother's pupils suddenly shrank, and she softly wiped the corner of her eye. Mom. Didn't you send my painting for me? How did it become sister's? Seeing that she was still hesitating, I simply stepped forward to add fuel to the fire. Stung by my sarcastic tone, my mother immediately flew into a rage. She pretended to be calm and shouted angrily, "You're lying. When did I send something for you? Don't slander your sister. How could I have raised such a thing like you? Mom, having to sell my obsession. Don't be angry. Sister Ivy didn't mean it." Aurora worriedly raised her hand to stroke my mother's chest to help her calm down. But when she looked at me, there was undisguised pride in her eyes. With my mother, only the child who cries gets the candy. But I just want to be the one who smashes the candy jar. Since you said that Rebirth was painted by you, then tell me who the person in the painting is. There was a smile on my lips, and I leaned in extremely close with malice. Under the scrutinizing gazes of everyone, Aurora first looked at my mother nervously a few times, and then answered confidently, "The doctor in the hospital room. He brought me a new life." My mother nodded, glanced at me subtly, and immediately let out a sigh of relief. After that painting was sent out, she had asked me this question alone. She really had made all-round preparations for Aurora. I couldn't help but laugh out loud and clapped my hands for their hypocrisy. This is my roommate in room 302 of BFU Hospital when I was being treated for anxiety disorder. I have his contact information here. Do you need it? I casually tore a piece of white paper from the sketchbook, wrote down a string of numbers, and handed it over. When my gaze swept over my mother, I playfully winked at her. Realizing that she had been deceived, she immediately grabbed the white paper angrily and tore it into pieces. Aurora remembered it wrong. She also told me last time that she painted a patient when she went to the hospital to visit you. Don't think that you can pretend to be the author just because you recognize the person. Her words were arrogant and extremely far-fetched. But helplessly, hatefully, she insisted that I was the one who plagiarized. And I couldn't produce any substantial evidence. The people on the scene could only look at each other in dismay and exchange a few helpless glances. Mom, why are you treating me like this? In the midst of the silence, I heaved a heavy sigh and questioned her curiously. Why? What on earth did I do wrong all these years? My mother just turned her head away and pretended not to hear, still unwilling to change her words. Seeing her firm attitude, I shrugged and took out the voice recorder from my pocket. Ivy, tell me honestly, did you plagiarize that painting, Rebirth? Sister Ivy, did you paint 2 versions of Rebirth? Yeah, having fulfilled my obsession. One was sent to the Berlin competition, and the other was for the domestic art exhibition. The familiar conversation sounded, and the living room was eerily silent for a moment. I took a few steps back to avoid my mother's attempt to rush over and grab the voice recorder. No. This is all fabricated. Mom of Ivy. We will deal with student Aurora's situation seriously. The notice of expulsion will be issued in a few days after the verification of the materials is completed. The plagiarist will also be blacklisted by the domestic art exhibitions. The director of the school and the organizing committee left one after another, not giving them any chance to argue. The sound of the door closing came, and Aurora finally couldn't hold on and collapsed on the sofa, crying bitterly. My mother had a dark face and suddenly stopped me from going upstairs. Ivy, why are you so vicious? How could you be so heartless as to ruin your sister's future? She claimed my painting as her own. How am I in the wrong again? She held my hand tightly, and I frowned slightly and pulled my hand back. As soon as the words left my mouth, a thick layer of disgust appeared in my mother's eyes, and she said with mockery, "You're just like your heartless father. You're a selfish person. You're not wrong. It's me who's wrong. I shouldn't have fought for your custody when I got divorced back then. Mom of Ivy, you took me away back then just to get back at my dad. All these years. What's the difference between having a mother and not having one for me?" I unceremoniously exposed her true face. The night before the divorce, I, who was only 7 years old at that time, eavesdropped on her conversation with the lawyer. In order to get back at my dad and force him to be separated from me, my mother desperately kept me when they got divorced. But contrary to her expectations, my dad didn't care about me and didn't even come back to see me once. My mother was unwilling, and could only vent her hatred on me with cold violence. This is truly a bloody truth. Slap. Get out of here. My mother's face was distorted, and she raised her hand and slapped me hard. The burning pain spread, and the smell of blood gradually filled my mouth. I ground my back molars and laughed loudly, and left without looking back. After that, we had no more interactions. But a month before I went abroad, Aurora called me herself, "Sister Ivy. All the mistakes are mine. Don't blame Mom. Mom has been very sad these days. Can you have a meal with us before you leave?" After that, she gave me an address. Hearing the familiar name of the hotel, I smiled and agreed. The gears of fate turned again. And I had been waiting for this moment for a long time. In my last life, Aurora won an international award with my paintings. To show off, she invited the whole family to this hotel to celebrate. Unexpectedly, the electrical wires in the hotel were aging, and there were serious fire safety problems. In the fire, in order to save my mother, I was hit by the burning ceiling and couldn't escape. But my mother resolutely abandoned me and rushed out of the fire with Aurora in her arms without looking back. In the end, I was severely burned and paraplegic, and I died on the day she attended Aurora's award ceremony. I hung up the phone and admired another painting named Rebirth on the wall with intoxication. The thick red paint was freely splashed, depicting a terrifying fire. This time, they were finally going to hell. When we met, my mother looked extremely haggard and rarely took the initiative to soften her attitude. "Mom remembers that you don't eat seafood and ordered the minced meat with eggplant that you like the most. Mom also bought the red Chinese roses that you like the most and put them in the studio. Come back and have a look when you have time." She carefully put a few pieces of eggplant into my bowl. Her eyes filled with hope. So she remembered all these things. She just deliberately didn't give them to me before and tortured me. I won't allow her to be happy in her unhappy life either. I picked up the bowl and poured all the food into the trash can in front of her. "Mom, you missed one thing. I hate it the most when others put on an act." "Ivy, that's enough. Mom has been so humble. What else do you want?" Aurora frowned and couldn't help but shout and scold. My mother patted her hand, got up with a smile and made tea for me. "Ivy, Mom was wrong. Can you forgive Mom?" The heat was thick, and her expression was faintly visible and not clear. I raised my eyebrows. What kind of act was this again? Under her expectant gaze, I picked up the tea and took a small sip. My mother immediately held my hand joyfully, her eyes twinkling. "Mom knows that Ivy is the most obedient and good." Then, went out. "For Mom's sake, can you also forgive your sister?" "Sure. Then help your sister and take her to study abroad in the UK too. Okay? She has already got her passport. With someone to accompany you to learn painting, you won't be so lonely. In the future, my 2 good daughters will both be artists." The corners of her mouth lifted slightly, and her face was full of expectation, as if she had already seen the beautiful picture she had imagined. Next to her, Aurora also sat there obediently, faintly excited. My mother didn't understand anything about studying abroad at all. As expected, it was Aurora's idea again. But why did they think I would agree? I smiled, and then spat out all the tea that I hadn't swallowed yet through the teacup. Sure. Mom. I'll go out and answer a call. Ivy. You agreed. You can't go back on your word. Go ahead and answer the call. I'll ask the waiter to add a few more dishes that you like. My mother and Aurora were immediately overjoyed and held each other's hands and laughed heartily. They discussed their future plans on their own. And I picked up my coat and left alone. The gates of hell were about to open. Walking in the dark passage, the smell of burning gradually spread. This hotel had been exposed to have the problem of aging electrical circuits. But the person in charge had never rectified it. Until this time. A fire broke out. There's a fire. The moment I stepped out of the hotel gate, a harsh alarm sounded. There were successive screams and noises coming from inside the building. I crossed my arms and watched quietly as the flames gradually devoured the building bit by bit. In my last life, only I had an accident in the fire, and everyone else was safe and sound. Suddenly, the window of the private room where my mother was located was opened. From a distance, I saw her leaning out and shouting for help. Although she couldn't see me, I still stood on tiptoe and waved at her with a smile. After a while, the fire on the outer wall burned more fiercely, and she had to shrink back. As the sharp sirens approached, the fire brigade arrived. They immediately registered the list of people trapped in the building and their specific locations with the hotel manager. Thanks to the kind-hearted people who reported the fire in time this time. The fire is not too serious yet. The fire captain's frown relaxed a bit, and he quickly deployed the rescue workers on the scene. I smiled and stepped forward in time to intercept. The people in private room 606 on the list are my mother and sister. But they just called and said they have escaped safely. Yes. Yes. This young lady was in private room 606. It was she who smelled the burning smell and reported the fire. The manager next to me recognized me and came over gratefully to help explain. The captain confirmed it several times. After confirming that the information was correct, he picked up the pen and crossed it off the list. I still had a smile on my face and naturally looked away. Get out. Get out. I went to the hospital to visit them with fruits. Standing outside the door, I could already hear the commotion in the ward. My mother lost control of her emotions and overturned the things around her like a madman. A nurse in charge of taking care of her came out with red eyes. And there were a few scratches on her face. The fire still didn't kill them. But when they were finally rescued, my mother's lower body was severely injured by the impact, and she had to be paraplegic. And Aurora was severely burned, and her whole body's skin festered. The sufferings I had endured in my last life. Now they had experienced them all one by one. When she saw me appear, my mother's face became even more distorted. She suddenly threw the fruit basket at me, and the fresh fruits fell all over the floor. Ivy, where did you go that day? Why didn't you come in and save me when there was a fire? Aren't you happy that your daughter escaped safely? Under her venomous gaze, I bent down and casually picked up a green apple in the corner. I smiled and took a big bite. The sweet and fresh fragrance of the apple filled the air. Mom, having so sold my sigh. Do you want some? It's all your fault. If you had rushed into the fire to save us, Aurora and I would definitely have escaped safely. Why wasn't it you who had the accident? Why are you standing here so well? My mother's scolding got louder and louder, and her expression was excited and gradually became a bit crazy. Seeing that she was about to lose control, I took a few steps back and took out the plane ticket. I'm flying to the UK tomorrow. Goodbye. You are my daughter. I won't allow you to study abroad. Take out all the money and pay for the surgery. You owe us this. If you dare to leave, I'll die in front of you. There was viciousness and determination in her words, and she didn't hesitate to threaten me with her own life. I turned my face away in silence, and my body kept shaking. After pretending for so long, I still couldn't help laughing out loud. The laughter became more and more crazy, making my mother frown. Ivy, are you crazy? What are you laughing at? Mom. Since the night you tried to steal the painting for Aurora, I've no longer been your daughter. I slowly leaned closer to the hospital bed, my expression eerie. As soon as the words fell, my mother widened her eyes in disbelief and pursed her lips when she spoke. You've known about it for a long time? I nodded and leaned over to whisper in her ear, otherwise. Why do you think the brake cable of your car broke? Why do you think the organizing committee found out that Aurora plagiarized? Why do you think the firefighters found you last when they were rescuing Ivy? You. My mother's body shook violently, and cold sweat broke out on her forehead. Before she could finish speaking, she rolled her eyes and fell down straight. This symptom looks a lot like a stroke. I kindly pressed the bedside bell for her and left in the midst of the chaos. When passing by Aurora's ward, I peeked in. She was lying there with festering all over her body, and the bed sheet was full of pus and yellow water. That pure little face was gone, replaced by a distorted face full of despair. So I looked so ugly before I died in my last life. I smiled and put the fresh lilies in my arms at the door of the ward and walked away with brisk steps. Ivy. Your graduation painting has been selected for the London International Art Exhibition. The door of the studio was pushed open, and Serafina walked in with a resolute step in a trench coat. She came over holding a golden invitation letter, her face beaming with excitement. I put down my paintbrush and got up happily to hug her. After breaking off the relationship with my mother that day, I flew to the UK to study. When I graduated, I still returned to China and moved into Serafina's apartment. She also became my guardian and agent. Ivy, the Chinese roses you painted are really beautiful. Serafina smiled with the corners of her mouth raised and touched my head with her palm, gratifying lie. I leaned against her shoulder, closed my eyes and felt her warm breath, and unconsciously relaxed. Ivy. Tomorrow is your mother's Memorial Day. Are you going to pay your respects? No. Ivy. Shall we fly to London to see the art exhibition? She nodded upon hearing this and quietly admired my painting while booking the plane tickets abroad. The spring sunlight streamed in through the windowsill, filling the room with warmth and brightness. At this moment, I finally regained my new life.